Hello, everyone, and welcome to BodyBags. I'll be your reviewer for today. I'm Lonnie from Tats, and again, I'm continuing my deep dive into Jekyll and Hyde films, and the one that I want to talk about is from 1982. Now, this movie it's not particularly a horror film. It's more of a comedy. But one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about it was because this, for me, was a gateway film. By seeing this movie when I was young, probably too young. Well, probably should not have been watching it, but I watched this movie and it just, the movie I'm talking about, you already know by the title, is Jekyll and Hyde Together Again. So, yeah, I got this on a double bill with Student Bodies. So, Student Bodies, pretty funny. Like before Scream, there was Student Bodies. Yeah, so if you ever really want like a good funny, like pre-Scream, comedy satire that really, pokes fun at slasher films and stuff, yeah, if you haven't seen it, try Student Bodies. But yeah, we're talking about Jekyll and Hyde Together Again. And I remember seeing, movies like this when I was young. Like I said, I was probably too young. Shouldn't have been watching this, but, when I saw this movie and then, I heard, okay, this is what the story about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is like. It definitely, like I said, for me, it was a gateway film because it made me want to check out, read the book, and then check out movies about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and stuff. So, it ended up, opening that door for me. And, I've always had a soft spot in my heart for this movie. And it was the same thing like with Young Frankenstein. I remember as a kid, I actually saw Young Frankenstein before I ever saw the original James Whale's Frankenstein, or any Frankenstein movie for that matter. Young Frankenstein was the one that started for me, and then after I saw Young Frankenstein, I was just like, yeah, I really want to, I want to start, I want to read the book Frankenstein, and I want to start watching the movies and stuff like that, and it's just kind of ended up, helping me build up a love for this kind of stuff. Now I know, this is. This is kind of tough because I know there are a lot of people when it comes to horror films, they don't like humor in it. And this here, like I said, this is pretty much just flat out comedy. So this isn't going to be everybody's cup of tea, but I personally enjoy it. And the story is pretty basic. You have Mark Blankfield, who right there, playing Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This is what he looks like when he's Mr. Hyde. So it's pretty funny. So anyway, he plays Dr. Daniel Jekyll, and he's considered like the most brilliant surgeon, a brilliant doctor, and things like this. And he wants to give up being a surgeon, and he wants to just devote his life to research and medicine and things like this. And so, but he's working at this hospital called Our Lady of Pain and Suffering, and there's this rich man named Hubert Howe who is wanting Jekyll to perform a transplant on him, which basically transplant everything. He's like liver, kidneys, intestines, everything. And Jekyll's like, no. He's like, I want to devote my time to research and stuff like this. And he's all like, tell Hubert Howe he can stick it up his ass. And the guy's like, he doesn't have an ass. That's one of the things we're trying to replace. But anyway, you have Mark Blankfield. You might remember him from Mel Brooks movies like Robin Hood Men in Tights and Dracula Dead and Loving It. You have Bess Armstrong, who you remember from specifically Jaws 3. If you're a horror fan, you're gonna remember her from Jaws 3, and possibly Serial Mom, things like that. You have Tim Thomerson, who of course everybody remembers from like Trancers and Doll Man and all those Charles Band movies and things like that. And let's see, there's you also too you get some some blink and you miss it kind of cameos in this movie. You get Liz Sheridan, who she plays a patient in one scene. Now Liz Sheridan, if you don't know who that is, if you were ever a fan of the show Alf, she was on the show. She played Mrs. Ochmonic, but she's in like a tiny little scene there. There's a small scene with a young Lynn Shaye. Like Lynn Shaye is actually in this movie. Tony Cox, who you might remember from movies like Friday and Silence of the Hams and stuff like that. And probably the most interesting cameo in this movie that you don't even know she's in the movie till you see the like the end credits and stuff. But there's a nurse, who's assisting Dr. Jekyll in his surgeries and stuff, and she's wearing, she's wearing like the face mask and everything, and she's wearing lipstick, and she's got rouge on the face mask, and believe it or not, that is Cassandra Peterson, Elvira. So Elvira is in this movie as well. It's just her face is hidden, so you can't tell. But it's just funny, because she's like, she's like, Dr. Jekyll, you're so amazing. He's like, nurse, control yourself. Sorry, and get ready to like cut into this guy with a scalpel. She's like, oh, gross. But it's Cassandra Peterson. Elvira is in this movie. So anyway, so Jekyll is, he's decided he wants to devote his time to medicine, and he's he's coming up with a medicine to bring out the animal instincts. We know the story. I will say though, like the big difference between this movie, like I said, it came out in 1982. You could totally tell this movie is an 80s film because it is so 80s when you watch it. But of course, like in previous versions of Jekyll and Hyde, usually it was like always they drank, Jekyll would drink a potion, or he would, inject himself or something like that. In Edge of Sanity, which I just reviewed a couple of weeks ago, that was like, that was him like smoking crack, I think it was. This one here, of course, being the 80s, it's cocaine. So he forms a powder and everything, and and it's like cocaine, And he meets this girl, Ivy, played by was it Krista Erickson? Is that who is it? Let's see. This one. Yeah, Krista Erickson. Okay, I got it right. It plays Ivy, who is basically like a club singer and stuff, and he, is immediately like aroused by her, and he wants her and stuff like this. And when he, accidentally, at one point he falls asleep and he accidentally snorts his powder, he turns into Mr. Hyde. And when he becomes Mr. Hyde, his whole thing is going after Ivy and stuff, kind of similar to the 1941 Jekyll and Hyde, but nowhere near the, nowhere near as frightening, and of course, this being comedy, the abuse angle isn't really there. So, but so now he's trying to figure out like what is he going to do, because on the one hand, when he's Jekyll, he wants to be with Bess Armstrong, his fiancee Mary. He wants to be with her. When he's turns into Hyde, he wants to be with Ivy and everything. And then of course, typical Jekyll and Hyde fashion, he's finding it hard to not take not take the powder, but then eventually, of course, like in the story, gets to the point he doesn't even need it anymore. He starts to transform at the most inopportune times, and then basically, that's probably about the best place to leave it. But he has to resolve the whole thing between him and Mary and Ivy and everything. And overall, I really enjoy this movie. Like I said, this movie is definitely not going to be for everybody. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but I had a lot of fun with it. And like I said, for me, it was a fun childhood memory, because watching this, it sparked my interest in reading the book and watching the films and everything else. This, along with Abbott and Costello meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So it just made me fall in love with the story. And so I think it's if you like comedies, if you like the Naked Gun kind of / scary movie, sight gag spoof type of comedies and stuff, this would be good for you. And if you like those kind of movies and you want to get into horror, this would be a good gateway movie to kind of help get you into this kind of story. And so I do recommend it personally. I will say though, like this being a 1980s comedy though, I will say if you want to get this though, I would say, yeah, if you could find it, DVD, VHS, Blu-ray, whatever you can find it on, I would say if you want to get this thing, I would probably go ahead and recommend you getting it, because I have a feeling, I could be wrong, but I have a feeling this is a movie probably like, as time goes on, this movie's probably going to end up being lost. Because a lot of people are probably going to want this movie to go away, because there's, like now, there would be considered a lot of inappropriate sex jokes, inappropriate gay jokes, inappropriate. There's, there are Asian characters that people are going to say are, Asian stereotypes. Gay characters are gay stereotypes. Things like this. Let's see here. Oh, I almost forgot. There's like a little blink in this movie. There's a little blink and you miss it. There's one part where he's in a grocery store and he walks by. There's this little kid who gets an egg dropped on his head. Well, the kid, if you notice, that's Barrett Oliver, who, if you ever remember watching the Never-Ending Story, he was the main kid from the Never-Ending Story. So there's a quick little spot with him in this movie too. But I would just say though, this movie, it's, the humor is coarse, it's raunchy, it's politically incorrect. So, like I said, you're going to see stuff, stuff that like a lot of people would definitely consider to be offensive nowadays. Stuff that they would sit here and really nitpick this movie apart. And, so yeah, I would definitely say, if you're interested in this movie, it is available on streaming and stuff. But I would say, honestly, if you get a chance, you find this bad boy, whatever way, I would say pick it up, and, because who knows how long they'll be here, because they keep wanting to change things. They keep wanting to alter movies and things like this. They keep wanting to like take away movies that they consider to be, immoral and all that other kind of stuff. In this movie, I think if people actually start taking a look at it, it's like, yeah, they probably would want to try to get rid of this. But, yeah, it's, personally, it's a lot of fun. And, like I said, this would definitely be a good movie. Somebody who likes comedy, and if, they want to try to start getting into horror and stuff like that, I would say this would make a good gateway film into that. But yeah, I think I pretty much said everything about this I need to say. Not much, if I keep talking, I'm going to wind up giving stuff away. I don't want to do that. So, but yeah, Jekyll and Hyde together again, I definitely recommend. Yeah, please, give it a look-see. But like I said, this movie, it's not going to appeal to everybody. So, but anyway, that's it. So, if anybody took the time to watch this, I thank you for doing it, and I appreciate you for doing it. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, would you please leave it a like? If you haven't already, please subscribe to the BodyBags channel. We have a different reviewer, one for every day of the week. I am the Saturday reviewer, and I'm working with a really great bunch of guys. We're all doing really good stuff, and I'm really, really honored to be in this company. And that's it, everybody. So take care. Have a good night. I'll see you later.